It was Christmas Eve, and I was still working. The snow came down thick and steady, blurring the edges of the world into a hazy white. The kind of night you should be home by the fire, drinking cocoa, watching old Christmas movies, not out driving an old delivery van down the back roads of rural Pennsylvania. But rent didn't care about holidays, and neither did the company I worked for. My name's Ethan Cole, and I've been delivering packages for nearly 10 years. Never thought it'd be my career, but here I was, 34, divorced, living in a one-bedroom apartment and driving through a snowstorm at 10:30 p.m. because I'd picked up some extra shifts for Christmas pay. I had one delivery left. Just one. That's what I kept telling myself as I stared through the fogged windshield, wipers smearing melted snow back and forth in a slow, hypnotic rhythm. My headset crackled. "Ethan, you still out there?" It was Paula, the dispatcher, her voice cutting through static. "Yeah," I said, glancing at the digital clock glowing 10:41. "One last stop, then I'm done." "Good. The weather's getting bad. Get it done and head home. You've got one weird address, though, a cabin up near Ridge Hollow Road. You sure you want to take that one?" "Do I have a choice?" I asked, half smiling. "Not really. The customer's name is Marjorie Henson. Old order, but it popped up in the system tonight. Be careful, okay?" Her tone had a strange hesitation in it, but I ignored it. Everyone was spooked about something on Christmas Eve. I glanced at the GPS on my dashboard. The route twisted up into the hills, a jagged little line through dense woods. "Henson Cabin," the screen read. "Estimated arrival, 11:13 p.m. Perfect. I could still make it home before midnight. The roads got narrower as I climbed. The houses grew fewer, the trees taller. My van rattled with every icy turn. Occasionally I'd pass an old farmhouse glowing warm in the distance, then nothing but forest again. After about 15 minutes, my radio buzzed again. "Yo, Ethan!" It was Ryan, my buddy from the warehouse. His voice was loud, cutting through the static. "Man, you still working? It's Christmas Eve." "Yeah, last delivery. Ridge Hollow," I said, trying to sound casual. "Ridge Hollow? Bro, you're crazy. That's like ghost country out there." "Don't start," I laughed, though my stomach felt tight. "I'm serious, man. My cousin used to do maintenance for that area. Said there's a cabin up there that hasn't had power in years, but somehow every December they get a delivery request." I rolled my eyes. "Probably just some old lady who doesn't like company." "Yeah, or maybe she's not that old anymore." "Funny, I'll call you when I'm back." "Bet you won't," he said, and hung up. I tried to shake off the unease. Ghost stories, that's all. Every small town had them. Roads where headlights vanish, houses that burn and rebuild themselves, people who show up in mirrors. I wasn't about to let superstition slow me down. After another 20 minutes of winding hills and snow-covered pines, my GPS beeped. "You have arrived." But there was nothing. Just a narrow lane leading off the main road, barely visible under the snow. I parked, grabbed the package, a medium-sized box wrapped in brown paper, and squinted at the faded shipping label. Marjorie Henson, 417 Ridge Hollow Road delivery requested, December 24th, 1979. I frowned. The label looked old, the ink was faded, and the edges of the paper were yellowing. Maybe it was a reprint from an old system glitch. Whatever. I just wanted to be done. I put the van in gear and turned onto the side lane. The headlights bounced off the trees, revealing only endless white. My tires crunched over frozen gravel, the road twisting like a snake through the dark. After a few minutes, I saw it, a small, crooked mailbox half buried in snow. The name Henson was barely legible in peeling black paint, and behind it, through the trees, stood a cabin. It was small, wood-paneled, and half-collapsed on one side. The windows were dark, except for one faint flickering glow inside, like candlelight. I parked and killed the engine. The silence that followed was deafening. No wind, no birds, no movement. Just the quiet hiss of snow landing on metal. I grabbed the box and stepped out. The cold hit me like a punch, sharp and dry. My boots crunched the snow as I walked up the path. There were no footprints. Not human, not animal, just untouched white. At the porch, I hesitated. The boards creaked under my weight. I knocked on the door. Nothing. I waited a few seconds, then knocked again. "Hello, Mrs. Henson? I've got a delivery here for you." Still nothing. Then slowly, I heard movement inside. The shuffle of feet across a wooden floor. The faint click of a latch. The door creaked open. A woman stood there. Small, hunched, wearing an old-fashioned housecoat and slippers. Her hair was white and neatly pinned. Her eyes, though, they looked wrong. Too bright. Too aware. "Good evening," she said softly, her voice trembling like paper. "You came." Yeah. Delivery for Marjorie Henson?" "That's me," she said with a faint smile. "I wasn't sure anyone would make it out tonight. Please, come in. You must be freezing." I hesitated, clutching the box tighter. Everything in me screamed, "Don't go in." But the wind howled behind me, and the snow was picking up. "Just need your signature, ma'am," I said, forcing a smile. "Of course," she nodded, stepping aside. "I'll find a pen." The cabin smelled old, like dust, smoke, and something sweetly rotten underneath. The furniture looked untouched for decades. A single candle flickered on the table beside an old rotary phone. On the wall hung faded photos, a man in uniform, a child with pigtails, a family smiling in sepia tones. Marjorie shuffled toward a small desk. I set the box on the table and looked around. The temperature inside was barely warmer than outside. My breath fogged in the air. "Do you live out here alone?" I asked. "Oh, yes," she said, her back turned. "My husband's gone now, but I get visitors every year." "Family?" "No," she said quietly. "Delivery men." I froze. She turned then, holding out a pen. Her hand trembled, thin and pale. "You'll want me to sign, won't you?" Yeah," I said, my heart starting to pound. She scribbled her name on the screen of my handheld device with shaky precision. "There," she said. "It's done." I nodded, eager to leave. "All right. Merry Christmas, Mrs. Henson." As I turned toward the door, she spoke again, her voice lower, almost whispering. "You should hurry, dear. The storm gets worse after midnight." "Yeah, I plan to," I said, grabbing the door handle. But before I stepped out, I glanced back. The box I'd brought, still sealed when I handed it to her, now sat open on the table. Inside was a framed photograph of me, wearing my uniform, standing beside my delivery van. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over the rug. What the hell?" But when I looked up again, the cabin was empty. The candle had gone out. The furniture was draped in cobwebs. Frost covered the windows from the inside. The place looked abandoned, and the box was gone. I bolted out the door, snow crunching beneath my boots. My van's headlights looked like two dim stars in the dark. I threw myself inside, breathing hard. My hands shook as I started the engine. As I drove away, I glanced in the rearview mirror. Marjorie Henson was standing at the end of the driveway, barefoot in the snow, smiling faintly. And beside her, in the passenger seat next to me, the box had returned, sealed tight again, with a new label. Next delivery, Ethan Cole. Delivery date, December 24th, pending. I don't remember much about the drive back. My brain felt like static, noise and panic and disbelief blending. I just kept my foot on the gas, headlights carving through the white blur ahead. My hands gripped the wheel so tight my knuckles went numb. Every few seconds, I'd glance at the passenger seat. The box sat there, same brown paper wrapping, same handwriting. Next delivery, Ethan Cole. Delivery date, December 24th, pending. I kept telling myself there had to be a logical explanation. Someone was screwing with me. Maybe Ryan was pulling some elaborate prank. Maybe Paula had sent me to a movie set or something. But no. Ryan didn't know this address, and the cabin hadn't looked alive in years. I turned onto the main road, tires slipping in the snow. The GPS had frozen on the screen, blinking between two coordinates that didn't exist. I smacked it with my palm, but it just beeped and went black. "Great," I muttered, my breath fogging the glass. The silence in the van felt heavy, The heater hummed weakly, blowing lukewarm air that barely touched the cold. Then I heard it. A faint thump from the back of the van. I froze. Another thump. Louder this time. Something shifted behind the metal divider. Probably just a box sliding around, I told myself. But I knew better. Every package had been strapped down tight. I glanced in the rearview mirror. Through the small metal grate, the faintest movement. A shadow, shifting slowly. Like someone crouched back there. My heart hammered. "Nope," I whispered. "Not tonight." I kept driving, trying to ignore the noise. But then the radio crackled. "Ethan." Paula's voice, except it sounded distant, warped, like it was coming from underwater. "Paula. Thank God. Listen, I finished that last delivery, but you shouldn't have gone there." Static swallowed her words. "What are you talking about?" "Marjorie's been gone since 1980. The radio hissed again, then went dead. A chill crawled down my spine. Gone? Since 1980? That couldn't be right. I'd just seen her, spoken to her. I tried calling her back, but the radio only made a high-pitched whine, like feedback bleeding into my ears. I switched it off, and for a moment, the only sound was the crunch of snow beneath my tires. Then, another sound. A soft tap-tap-tap from the passenger seat. I turned slowly. The box was moving, tiny shudders, like something was inside, pushing to get out. My breath caught in my throat. I slammed the brakes. The van skidded sideways, fishtailing before coming to a stop. My chest heaved. I just sat there staring at it. Finally, I reached out, stupidly, and lifted the lid. Inside was a photograph. It was me sitting in my van, just like now. Same jacket, same posture. Except behind me in the photo, through the back window, I could see the shape of a woman. Pale, smiling. I dropped the picture, my hands shaking. The moment it hit the floor, I heard breathing. Not mine. Slow, ragged breaths coming from the back of the van. I turned toward the partition. "Hello?" My voice cracked. "Ryan, if that's you, man, this isn't funny." No response. Just that same breathing. Closer now. I grabbed the flashlight from the glove box, clicked it on, and slowly opened the rear door. Cold air poured in. The beam cut through the dark, landing on stacks of packages. Nothing moved. I climbed inside, my boots crunching over cardboard. My breath puffed out like smoke. "Who's back here?" The light swept across the shelves, then stopped. Footprints. Bare footprints. Small, delicate, leading straight toward the corner, and stopping right beneath a hanging tarp. I swallowed hard and reached out with the flashlight. My hand trembled as I pulled the tarp aside. Nothing. Just more boxes. Then, a whisper. "You're late?" I spun around. No one. The voice was soft, almost childlike. "You were supposed to bring it sooner." The air turned heavy, thick, like the whole van was shrinking around me. My flashlight flickered. I backed up fast, slammed the van door shut, and jumped into the driver's seat. The engine sputtered, refusing to start. "Come on! Come on!" I slammed my fist against the wheel. The headlights flickered once, twice, then went out completely. Darkness. I sat there breathing hard, eyes straining to adjust. Through the windshield, something moved, a figure crossing the road, barefoot, wearing the same faded nightgown I'd seen back at the cabin. Marjorie. She was staring right at me, though her eyes were wrong, hollow like two burned-out coals. "You still have a delivery to make," she whispered, voice echoing inside my skull. Then, she vanished. The van roared to life, headlights blazing. I didn't think. I just hit the gas and tore down the road, tires spinning on the ice. The box on the seat slid to the floor. I drove for miles without stopping. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. When I finally reached a gas station near the highway, I pulled over. The lights were on. Civilization. Relief washed over me like a wave. I stumbled inside, the bell above the door jingling weakly. The cashier, a middle-aged guy with glasses, looked up from his magazine. "Rough night, huh?" he said. "You could say that," I muttered, glancing around the small store. "You got a phone I can use?" "Over there by the coffee machine," he said, pointing. "Phones are acting weird tonight, though. Storm's messing with the lines." I picked up the receiver. Dead. No dial tone. "Figures," I muttered. "Where are you coming from?" the cashier asked, wiping his hands on a rag. "Ridge Hollow Road." He froze. His expression changed, not confusion but recognition. "You mean the Henson place?" "Yeah. You know it?" He stared at me for a moment before shaking his head. "Everyone around here knows it, but nobody goes up there. Not anymore." "Why?" I asked, though I already dreaded the answer. "Fire," he said quietly. "Back in '79, the whole cabin went up in flames. They never found the old lady. Some say she ordered a Christmas package that night, and she's still waiting for it." My mouth went dry. "You're joking." "I wish I were. Local legend, you know. Some delivery driver went missing out there that same night. People said the storm got him, but..." He trailed off, staring past me toward the door. "You came here alone, right?" I turned. The van was parked by the pump, snow still falling around it. But through the window I could see the passenger seat. The box was gone. I walked back outside, my boots crunching over the icy ground. The snow had picked up again, thick flakes spinning like ash. The driver's side door was open. The seat was empty, except for a new envelope sitting neatly on the dashboard. I picked it up, heart hammering. Inside was a single slip of paper, delivery complete. Recipient confirmed, Marjorie Henson. Next delivery scheduled, December 24th, pending. And beneath that, one final line scrawled in faded ink. "Everyone delivers in the end." I stumbled backward, clutching the paper. The cashier came out looking concerned. "You okay, man?" "Yeah," I lied, my voice shaking. "Just must have imagined it." But deep down I knew I hadn't. When I looked back one last time, I could see faint footprints leading from the van into the snow. Small, bare, and vanishing into the woods beyond the station. And for a split second, I thought I saw her again, just at the edge of the trees, smiling, waiting. I didn't go straight home that night. Couldn't. Even when I left the gas station and hit the main road, the image of those small barefoot footprints in the snow wouldn't leave my mind. I kept glancing in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see someone sitting in the back again. That frail woman with the hollow eyes and that strange, gentle smile. But the road stayed empty, swallowed by darkness and snow. I drove until the storm finally began to thin. The sky turned a pale gray, that eerie pre-dawn color that makes the world look washed out and unreal. My van sputtered as I pulled into my apartment parking lot, tires crunching through the slush. When I stepped out, the world was quiet. Too quiet. Not even the hum of traffic, just the whisper of falling snow. Inside my apartment, I locked the door, drew the blinds, and slumped down onto the couch. I wanted to sleep, to forget, to convince myself that I'd imagined everything. But then I saw it, the box, sitting neatly in the middle of my living room floor. Same brown paper, same label. Next delivery, Ethan Cole. Delivery date, December 24th, pending. My stomach twisted. I hadn't brought it in. I hadn't even looked at the back of the van before I left the gas station. "Okay," I muttered, pacing. "It's a prank. Someone's screwing with me." I tore the box open, desperate to prove myself right. Inside was a single photograph, old, faded. It showed a man standing beside a delivery van from the 1970s. The logo on the side was the same courier company I worked for, only with a vintage design. The man in the picture looked just like me. Same uniform, same build, same tired eyes. But at the bottom of the photo, written in looping cursive, were 3 words. He didn't deliver. I dropped the picture. It fluttered to the floor, face down. That's when my apartment phone rang. The sound made me jump out of my skin. It was a landline, the one that came with the unit. the one I never used. Hand shaking, I picked up. Hello? Static. Then a woman's voice, soft and deliberate. You forgot something, Ethan. Who is this? The delivery isn't done yet. Hung up, heart pounding. The phone rang again immediately. You can't leave it incomplete, Ethan. The road remembers. We all remember. Her tone was calm, almost pitying, like a teacher scolding a child. I slammed the receiver down and backed away. The box had fallen over. The photo was gone. And my front door was open. The snow outside glowed faintly under the streetlights, and faint footprints led away from my door. Small, bare, and deliberate. Against every instinct, I followed them. They led me through the complex, across the frozen parking lot, and down the road toward the forest that bordered the town. The farther I went, the quieter everything became, until even the wind died out. I don't know how long I walked. 10 minutes, maybe more, before I realized where I was heading. Ridge Hollow Road. The snow-covered sign was barely visible through the mist, but I knew that curve in the trees, that sloping rise of the hill. I was going back, and I couldn't stop myself. Every step felt like someone else was guiding me, pushing me forward. When I reached the lane where the Henson mailbox stood, my flashlight flickered out. The beam died completely. I was left in silence and moonlight. The cabin stood ahead, half hidden behind snow-laden pines. It looked the same as before, same sagging roof, same faint glow from a single window. Except this time, smoke curled faintly from the chimney. I swallowed hard and forced myself forward. The porch creaked under my boots. The door opened before I could knock. You came back, she said. Marjorie Henson. She looked younger now. Not by much, but her skin had color, her hair less gray. She was dressed in the same housecoat, though it looked cleaner, newer. You said the delivery was complete, I managed to say. Why are you still? Because it wasn't, she interrupted, smiling faintly. The wrong man delivered it. I don't understand. She stepped aside and gestured toward the table. The box sat there again, still sealed. Open it. I hesitated. Open it, Ethan. You'll see. I walked over and peeled the tape back. Inside, beneath layers of yellowed newspaper, was an old manifest sheet. Delivery records from December 24, 1979. At the bottom of the list was one final name. Driver. Henry Cole. My heart skipped. Henry Cole. My grandfather's name. He was the first, Marjorie said softly. He came to this house that night. He tried to leave before signing, but a promise was made. Every generation must finish the last delivery. I backed away, shaking my head. No, you're lying. He never left this road, Ethan. Not really. She pointed toward the corner of the room, and in the dim light, I saw a photograph hanging on the wall. It was the same one from the box. My grandfather. Only now, there was someone else beside him. Me. What do you want from me? I whispered. Marjorie smiled sadly. Just to finish the route. The candle on the table flared, the flame stretching tall and bright. The air grew thick, heavy, almost humming. The room blurred around me. When my vision cleared, I wasn't inside the cabin anymore. I was in the driver's seat of my van. The engine idled softly. The clock on the dashboard blinked 12 a.m. Snow drifted gently outside. On the seat beside me was the same box, now bearing a new label. Next delivery, Marjorie Henson. Delivery date, December 24th. Completed. I exhaled shakily. It's done, I whispered. It's finally done. Then the radio crackled. Ethan, you copy? It was Paula's voice again, clear this time. Yeah, I said, swallowing hard. I'm here. We lost your signal hours ago. Where the hell have you been? I stared out the windshield. The cabin was gone. Nothing but trees and snow. Just finishing the last delivery. What are you talking about? Ethan, you're not on the schedule anymore. My stomach turned. What? We checked. You don't work for us. You haven't for almost 10 years. The radio hissed with static, then silence. I looked down at my uniform. The fabric was old, faded. The logo is barely visible. My hands, pale, cold, almost translucent in the dashboard light. And in the passenger seat, the box was gone, replaced by a small photograph. A woman standing on a snowy porch, smiling faintly. Marjorie. On the back, written in the same cursive handwriting, "Thank you for completing the delivery." I felt the warmth drain from my body. Outside, the snow began to fall harder. My van idled quietly, the headlights dimming as the battery died. And just before the darkness swallowed me completely, I heard the faint echo of a voice, the same one that had haunted my radio all night. "There's always one more delivery, Ethan." When authorities found the delivery van on Ridge Hollow Road the next morning, it was buried under several inches of snow. The engine was dead. The driver's seat was empty. The only thing inside was a single brown box on the passenger seat. No return address. No shipping label. Just 2 words written in faded black ink. Pending delivery. If you made it this far, you're one of us. The ones who dare to listen when the dark calls. Subscribe to Mindtrap Files for more true horror stories that creep out from the corners of America. Until next time, keep your lights on.